As each day passes, more and more information continues to come out that makes it seem much more likely that we're not really going to see the big type of change that many Leafs fans anticipated would be coming this summer. You see it in the GM with Brad Treliving coming in and taking over for Kyle Dubas. And so the next automatic thought for the majority of Leafs fans was Sheldon Keefe is gone. And if it wasn't that Sheldon Keefe was gone, we were looking to one of the core four: Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Tavares. Could there be some way to move one of those guys out to make things work? Well, it looks like Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan are kind of in the same step here in terms of they're not going to be going anywhere. And then all of a sudden we're going to find out Sheldon Keefe isn't going anywhere either. If that's the case, what are the Maple Leafs' biggest needs this offseason? And who is the person who could really turn things around for them going into next season? What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. I'm Zack Phillips, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about why Tyler Bertuzzi is the perfect fit for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. We'll get into that throughout the course of the video about the Leafs' biggest needs, how he fits into this, and why he would be the ideal upgrade that is in the free agent market over a guy like Michael Bunting and bringing him back to this Leafs team. So we'll get into all of that through the course of the video. But before we do, I just want to remind people out there, if you have not already hit subscribe here on this Leafs Digest channel, I don't know what you're doing, but if you haven't, hit subscribe right now. While you're at it, you can like this video and click that bell to turn on notifications so that you get notified every single time we go live here on this channel or more videos like this one pop up. There will be much more of this coming as we lead up to free agency and through the draft, reacting to stuff going on, talking about my opinion of who the guys are out there that we should be targeting throughout free agency through the summer, and potential trade opportunities that the Leafs might need to take advantage of. It'll all be here on this Leafs Digest channel, so you're not going to want to miss a single second, especially if you are a Leafs fan. So hit that subscribe button. But as I mentioned, there's two parts here really that we should get into throughout the course of the show today. And the first and foremost being what the Leafs' biggest needs are throughout this offseason. So the Maple Leafs' biggest needs to the majority of people coming out of last season was a change in the identity of this team. And the first place that you're going to look would be the head coach. But then people kind of looked beyond that and said, well, he turns out to be the scapegoat in that situation. Do you want to give yourself an easy out and just fire Sheldon Keefe? Well, then the next natural step would be to get rid of one of the core four and make a change there. That is obviously the much more difficult move. Let's be honest here. Moving on from one of the core four is going to involve a massive trade. And these trades are often hard to win. Let's be honest. You're going to move a big piece, and maybe it's not that it's hard to win in terms of the return that you get, but a lot of times it's hard to justify to the fan base why that move was the right move. And in reality, this is a business. As much as it is about winning hockey games and winning Stanley Cups, it's about a business. And there are a lot of people who really couldn't give a crap about whether this team wins the Stanley Cup or not. They just want to see Mitchie Marner skate up and down the ice and put up 99, can't get 100, but 99 points in a single season, call it a day, buy his jersey, and that's that. They're happy. So you can kind of lose out on that a little bit. Potentially MLS is in a spot here where they're like, hey, we're making a ton of cake. We just got to the second round. That's extra revenue in our pockets because we played the first two games at home. You guys went down to Florida. You played 2 games there, and then you came back and you played 5 here. So they said, hey, you know what? We're fine. We're getting our money. It is what it is. Maybe that's the case. I would hope not, especially as someone who wants to see the team win and not just have fun, because that's not what it's all about. But you kind of run into a tough situation there. So that's one of the blocks that you face with trading those guys. And then the other one is sometimes they do just actually miss. Sometimes you trade a guy and it just doesn't work out in your favor. I look at ones that worked out really well. I look at the Eichel trade in Vegas. Vegas gets Jack Eichel, they go on and they win a Stanley Cup. But then you end up in a spot here where Buffalo, they get Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs, they get some capital back. You know what? Buffalo's in a pretty good position themselves. I would consider that one a win-win. You can also get lose-lose. The Ottawa Senators trade away Erik Karlsson, don't really get too much in return. That's going to change the outlook of their team. That is drastic enough. It is what it is, but then you can also get the classic win-lose. Again, let's go to Vegas, and let's also take the Ottawa Senators. Vegas trades for Mark Stone. He becomes the captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, and he's lifting a Stanley Cup above his head. Ottawa got essentially peanuts in return for what they probably should have got for a guy like Mark Stone. These are situations that can happen. You just kind of got to plot away and make the right move. That essentially could come with the contract details that you look at, whether you get guys back on term, do they fit needs that your team has? It can be tough to win there. But we did get information revealed to us the other day, first and foremost, that Sheldon Keefe and Brad Treliving spent some time together and got to know each other. Treliving feels confident that Keefe is the right coach for the Maple Leafs. A very likely scenario is that Keefe will receive an extension this summer. So there you go. That is first and foremost. That comes from Darren Dreger on TSN's First Up radio show from this morning. So it looks like Sheldon Keefe is staying. Brendan Shanahan says he wants to keep the core four. He called the core four, wants them around. All right. Now, what is the next biggest move that this Leafs team can be making going into next season? Because you're going to look there. You're not really making any big changes. Well, here's where it is. The big change that needs to come with this Leafs team is an upgraded top six. And if you're not going to move on from the four that are there, the only way you can do this is by adding around them. So you're going to have to find pieces who fit in around the top four guys. How can they benefit them? What style of play do they have? Well, the Leafs' biggest need in their top six is not another scorer. I know that people sit here and say, well, the Leafs struggled to score when it mattered. The Leafs struggled to score in the playoffs this year. The Leafs struggled to score last year. Guys, I am sorry, but I am here to tell you this. The Leafs struggled to score, we need scorers around them, is the most pathetic argument you could ever possibly imagine when you're going to look at this Maple Leafs team and you're going to sit there and look at Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander. If you look at those four guys and you say, we still need scoring, you've got a billion times bigger problems because it comes down to those four than it is about the guys that are around them. Those are the guys who are the problem. Those are the guys who are supposed to score your goals. In fact, you actually got depth scoring this year. You actually got somewhat of depth scoring last year against Tampa. You know who didn't score? The big four. When it mattered the most, disappearing act. The guys went AWOL. Those guys need to find a way to score. So, you know what? Instead of finding ways to put scorers around scorers that you already have, maybe you need to find a different style of player to play around those guys. And a style of player that they haven't really had to sit alongside of them is a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi is the ideal fit for this Maple Leafs team going into this next season and probably through at least the next 5 to 6 years. I easily sit here and look at Tom Wilson. I looked at him last year and I said, Tom Wilson is that guy. He's a big body. He creates space. He can score. He can make plays here and there. But more than anything, he can go up into a top six role and be a guy who opens things up for the guys around him. Tom Wilson is coming off of some major surgery here. He missed the majority of last season, and who knows what type of player he'll be for the remainder of his career. Tyler Bertuzzi is a guy you can get without having to give up anything here this summer other than a whole bunch of dough. You don't got to trade assets. You don't got to trade prospects. Nothing. You can just go out there, hit up his agent, and sign that man to a contract and make him a Toronto Maple Leaf for the next few years to come and give Austin Matthews a solid bully to play on his wing. So, Tyler Bertuzzi, for me, is the guy to go after because he's a playmaker. He can score goals. He can make things happen. He's shown that he can play in big moments. He was an incredible playoff performer for Boston this year. And on top of that, he's not that expensive. And I know people are sitting here saying, well, we have that in Michael Bunting. And that's the classic when you go online and you read Twitter and you sit there and say, Mom, I want McDonald's. And she says, we got McDonald's at home, and then it's just chicken fingers and fries from Costco that came out of the freezer and some crappy off-brand French fries. It's not McDonald's, Mom. This is not what I asked for. Yeah, I'm getting my chicken nuggets and fries, but this isn't McDonald's. There's a difference to McDonald's. And Michael Bunting is the at-home freezer chicken nuggets. Tyler Bertuzzi is that fresh out the fryer, salty-ass McDonald's fries with your chicken nuggets, 20 piece and a side of Sprite right there with it. That is what Tyler Bertuzzi is because he is the guy who brings you grit, determination, and goal scoring. So why Tyler Bertuzzi over Bunting? Well, here is why. According to Frank Seravalli, we're looking at projections for next season. Frank Seravalli was sitting here saying that he kind of projected Tyler Bertuzzi to be sitting at 6 years, $5.25 million. Michael Bunting, on the other hand, 5 years, $5.25 million. Now, whether or not you think this is accurate and you think this is what these guys will actually get paid or what they deserve to get paid, this is an NHL writer who is taking this and saying, these are our projections according to the Daily Faceoff. This is where we see these guys coming in at. And then I see this article in The Athletic from Jonas Siegel where he says, which brings us to a simple question. Why don't the Leafs just sign Bunting? Why splurge on Bertuzzi instead? Well, first and foremost, you get an extra year out of Tyler Bertuzzi at the exact same cost, and it came up there, it said, yeah, it's Bertuzzi 28, Bunting 27. Well, guess what, guys? They're both 1995s. Michael Bunting will be 28 this year as well. They're the same age. On top of that, some stats to go along. Effectively, same height, same weight. Bertuzzi 6'1", Bunting 6 foot. Bertuzzi 185 pounds, Bunting 185 pounds. But this is where you get the differentiator. Tyler Bertuzzi's career high points is 62 points in a single season, and he did that in 68 games. Michael Bunting's career high is 63 and 79. Now, he did that one time, and you're going to say, yes, 63 is more than 62. Well, first and foremost, he played 11 more games than Tyler Bertuzzi did that year. He scored one more point than Tyler Bertuzzi. And, oh, by the way, Michael Bunting was playing with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Tyler Bertuzzi was playing on a not-so-great Detroit Red Wings team and still found a way to put up those stats. Now, last year, let's look at this. Bertuzzi dealt with a lot of injury. He didn't play for much of the season. What he did is put up 30 points in 50 games. Michael Bunting last year experienced a big drop-off from the season before, 49 points in 82 games. So he experienced 14 points less, and he played 3 more games. Tyler Bertuzzi still 30 points in 50 games. Now, let's look at some playoff statistics if I haven't convinced you already. Career playoff statistics. Tyler Bertuzzi has only played in 7 games. This was the first year that he made the playoffs, and he did so because he got traded to the Boston Bruins. That being said, he scored 10 points in 7 games. Through 2 seasons of Michael Bunting playing playoff hockey for the Toronto Maple Leafs, we saw him get a major suspension. Very much Nazem Kadri-like. I know. Sorry, Naz. Was an unintentional ricochet shot. Just Leafs fans are going to remember that one. But Michael Bunting, through 3 rounds of playoff hockey, put together 5 points in 13 games. And guess what? Michael Bunting, for the most part, played with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. So you sit here and you say, whoa, where's the scoring? Where's the scoring? The Leafs need scoring. Go find a guy who can score, not a gritty guy like Tyler Bertuzzi. Well, guess what? Michael Bunting's a guy who's playing in that top 6. You'd bring Tyler Bertuzzi in to play over top of him, play in that role. And this guy can score points, 10 points in 7 games, playing with high-level talent in Boston in the most important time of the year in the playoffs. Michael Bunting gets to the playoffs, 5 points, 13 games. And by the way, he was playing with the big boys. It happens. This is what happens. You got to find guys who you can elevate on. So if you're going to sit here and say we're going to splurge on Tyler Bertuzzi and you're looking at potentially only 1 more year for about the same dollar amount, why would you not just spend 1 more year of money on Tyler Bertuzzi and keep the guy here in Toronto? Keep him under contract. If he's projecting at 5.25, even if you think 5.25 is generous on Bunting, you sit here and you say, there's no way Michael Bunting gets 5.25. You're convinced Michael Bunting gets maybe 4, maybe 4.5. If it's going to push up past where you even think it might go, that's fine. Even at that cap hit, I am still taking Tyler Bertuzzi all day. Tyler Bertuzzi, to me, is the guy. He is the perfect fit here because he creates space. Tyler Bertuzzi hits hard. He finishes checks. He gets in people's faces. He pisses you off. He does everything Michael Bunting does, but better. And Michael Bunting, his biggest asset that he had effectively became that he was this rat. He was this little shit disturber. It started to wear off at the end of the season. And whether you agree with why it happened or not, it did. And odds are, if he continues to play in Toronto, that's going to continue into next season. And he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And that edge that he had of being able to draw penalties, it's just going to continue to deteriorate the longer he wears a Maple Leafs uniform. Now, Tyler Bertuzzi, in my opinion, has a better head on his shoulders than Michael Bunting does when it comes to staying engaged in the game, not letting things get out of control, and being able to stay on top of his emotions while within the game. So Tyler Bertuzzi, to me, also gains the edge there. And now the final thing I'll say, if you watch the Edgework show that I did with the Hammer Betting Network, which you can find as Edgework HQ here on YouTube, I do recommend checking that out, especially if you're more interested in betting and the pick side of NHL content. Please do check that out. I do host that show, but I talked about on there when we were looking at what the Leafs might do for next season, the fact that Tyler Bertuzzi scares people. Michael Bunting annoys them. Bunting isn't going to be that hard on you on hits. Bertuzzi is. Bunting doesn't really line guys up open ice. Bertuzzi will. Bunting doesn't defend himself in situations of fights, and he won't defend Matthews in situations where he might have to get into a fight. Tyler Bertuzzi will. And I'm not asking the guy to go out there and drop the gloves and be the Hanson brothers every time he's on the ice, but if you're going to go out there and be a rat and you're going to piss people off, every now and then you got to back it up, and Tyler Bertuzzi, to me, will. Tyler Bertuzzi is the guy that we should go after this free agency. He is the number one guy on my free agency board, and I would be very disappointed if we found out that the Leafs didn't even engage in conversations with Bertuzzi. If his agent takes the call, flushes it, says no way he's going to Toronto, or he just sees Tree Living's number and says not happening today, it is what it is. But if Tree Living never reaches out, that will be disappointing to me. I want to know that they've reached out to this guy because he is the number one player to me on this board. And I think if the Leafs had got him last year at the trade deadline, we might have seen a different Leafs team come playoff time, especially considering what he did once he got to Boston and joined the Bruins, who were the President's Trophy winners. Yes, they didn't have the success. They didn't win, but Tyler Bertuzzi did when he got in the playoffs. So, Leafs fans, let me know your thoughts on Tyler Bertuzzi, whether you think we could get him at this contract. Would you sign him at this contract? Would you take Tyler Bertuzzi straight up over Bunting as well? Let me know your thoughts on the Michael Bunting projected contract, whether you think that's accurate, if you think that's too much, too little, whatever it is. I want to hear it all in the comments below, so let me know there. And as well, just a reminder before we go, if you haven't subscribed already, I don't know what you're doing. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like this video and turn on notifications so you get notified every single time we go live here on this channel. But Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Look forward to reading all your comments. Keep believing.